A bill moving forward in Raleigh, if enacted into law, would really change who gives the final approval on development projects in Brunswick County.
As it stands right now, the county's planning board has that authority. But WECT's Delaney Tarpley has an update tonight on House Bill 1222. And if this does pass, Delaney, who gets the power then?
Yeah, good question, John. The bill requires county commissioners to rule on approvals for developments in the county. The noticeable difference is commissioners are elected while members of the planning board are not. The planning board got the responsibility in 2019 thanks to a law passed by the General Assembly. Brunswick County has also grown a lot since 2019. According to the county's development dashboard, county officials have approved nearly 150 residential developments since then. We don't know whether any county leaders asked Representative Charlie Miller to file the new bill, which passed the House with unanimous support. Before Tuesday's vote on the bill in the State House, Miller encouraged fellow representatives to say yes. Take a listen.
I have a strong contingency in Brunswick County that feels like the final decision should lay with our elected officials, and I would appreciate your green vote.
Miller wasn't available for comment today, but he also posted on Facebook after the vote saying, quote, "As the demand for growth continues to impact Brunswick County, residents deserve transparency, accountability, and a direct voice through the officials they elect. This legislation helps ensure development decisions are made by those accountable to the people," end quote. The bill now heads to the Senate and will need to be passed there too. A companion bill, Senate Bill 1079, introduced by Senator Bill Rabin, is also with the Senate right now. It hasn't passed yet, but we are keeping an eye on it. Delaney Tarpley, WECT News.